Hi, welcome to the Winners Find a Way show and podcast with your host, Trent M Clark, 3-time World Series coach, CEO of Leadershipity, serial entrepreneur, having started 12 companies, coach to the 1%, and an international speaker. This show is going to be your go-to podcast for facing adversity, being inspired, and overcoming obstacles, all from the best in the world, business, sports, and leadership. Hate the crappy ingredients in many beverages and energy drinks? Rebellious Infusions are the go-to functional beverage. They have 5 or fewer plant-based organic ingredients, no sugar, no calories, loaded with antioxidants to boost your immune system, and L-theanine for brain health. Rebellious Infusions are available at drinkrebellious.com. Rethink your drink. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999.
It's a wild story. But when we moved home, I had gotten a job. COVID happened, lost my job during COVID, was like, what the heck? What am I going to do now? And I ended up working in childcare, like dropping my kids off at one end of the building and me going and looking after other people's kids, which was not the dream. And I was really just like, God, what's going on? And then felt in January of 2021, out of nowhere, just that I should start posting videos online. And I was like, I just felt like it was just like a sign everywhere. So I talked to my husband about it. Hey, I feel like God's telling me I should post videos online. So we prayed, God, if this is something Mellisa should do, would you just make it clear? 5 days later, Trent, I randomly uploaded a video of my kids sledding that I was trying to figure out how to even post on TikTok. And the next morning I woke up and it had 22 million views and I landed a spot on the Kelly Clarkson show. We felt like that was a pretty clear sign.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like that's I don't know if there's ever been a hit over the head sign before, but I think that seems pretty clear, right?
Right. So I continued working and I had no idea. Like I did not know a thing about TikTok.
Yes.
Or anything. So I was trying to just figure it out. And so I worked the childcare job and I grew my account while posting TikToks in my car on my lunch break. And I grew my account to, I think when I left, about 190,000 followers. And now I'm at 227 today.
227,000 followers. Okay. So by the way, if, in the NIL space, we can get you all sorts of contracts, by the way, Mellisa, just so you know, like, you ever want to come and be an AIM client for us, like, just let us know. And then, so you work with us because you are an influencer and you help other people. So you work with some of our athletes who are learning like, hey, how do I get a better following? How do I make an engaging video, which is a cool thing. Now, let's come back to the beginning for a second.
Okay.
You're this kid, you're this superstar over here at Mundaline, and you're walking through the hall going, I can't wait till one day I'm going to be a mom. I'm going to be a wife. This is going to be great for me. No?
No, I know.
What do you mean, no? You're like the mom champion. Let's walk me through this.
I never wanted to be a mom. So my mom had like a terrible birth experience with me and it always freaked me out. I'm terrible with the doctor. Terrible. So the thought of just the process of a woman having a bit, I'm out. I faint at needles. So I never wanted to be a mom.
You have 2 kids.
The practical side.
I just want to go for everybody out there to be clear. Mellisa has 2 kids. All right?
Yes. And Trent, I had them without pain relief.
Ooh.
And we just have a moment. This is, whatever.
No. Big props. Because, listen.
Because I'm scared of needles. So
listen, I love you. Because this is my wife. So, you talked about at the beginning, right? Like, hey, I'm this, freaky girl out of college who digs kale. Like, we were going to Whole Foods driving an hour in 1994 to go get organic foods in Ann Arbor, Michigan, an hour. And I was with the Tigers and my wife's like, we have to eat right because I'm not putting anything in my body that's not going to serve. Right. And so we have 5 children. Right. Yeah, wow. And there's never been anything in my wife at a childbirth. In fact, we had the last one at home. Right.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I love it. And I'm like, I'm watching all 5 of these going, you sure? Because I'm like, you know what? Give me something. I'm all right with it. I'm feeling the pain. So woo, I don't know, Mellisa. I think you're a brave soul. For all you women out there, God bless you. Woo. Let's come back to this valley just for a minute. I don't want to relive it. And listen, this is very important for you out there. like you have these challenges in your life and you do not need to relive those challenges, but sometimes you have to revisit them.
Yeah.
And, you talk about like, oh, I was going to have this pure life. I'm a faithful person. And by the way, my initial view of Christianity and faith in a higher power was when you walked with the higher power, when you walked with the Lord for you and I, like that meant like problems went away. Like I literally went to my first men's group thinking I have issues, man. I have marital issues. Like I have issues in my life. I have job issues. These people are Christians and they don't have any of these problems. And I sat this men's group, listen to this guy who's going through a divorce and a sick kid. I'm like going, what are you talking about? This isn't supposed to be at the church. Like you guys got this all wrong. Like, and
right.
So I want to go back to this, revisiting this time. You are quote unquote living in the valley at a funeral home next to a cemetery where people are just dying to go. I had to get that in. I just slipped in a dad joke right there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a dad joke.
All right. And so I go back to the challenge of, is it good? So I was at an event yesterday with Jeremy Poinsett. Poinsetino? I don't know. I can't say his name right. And he is like an 8-time U.S. Blind Golf Association champion. Wow. We played golf yesterday and he shot a 38 on the back nine. And I'll just say I didn't. Right? Mine was a few more than that. All right. Okay. And so I'll just get to go there. All right. And I'm like going, man. And he talked about these events in our lives. And is it good? Is it bad? Like I am the U.S. blind golf champion. Is that good? Maybe. Could be. Hey, I went blind. I went blind at 19 years old. Is that bad? Maybe. Because I could tell you, as he talked about what a blessing that's been in his life to be, on television, to be a public speaker, to build a relationship with a father who is his caddy. And he and his dad won the U.S. Blind Golf Association because he doesn't do anything without his father, his caddy, who lines him up for every shot. He has to execute what his dad asks him to do. And they have a system of that, right? So he would look back on that and go, you're looking back, that was pretty good. But at the moment, we're like, label that. That's bad. There's no way that's good. And you're in this valley and that's got to be bad, right?
Well, and that's funny because that is exactly what I thought it was. And then when you look at it, I don't want to go back. And I'm sure this is not like, that's not like, okay, I did it now it's never going to happen again. I'm sure. Well, I don't want to say that you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Life is full of mountaintop and valley experiences. But what I realized, and this is like a quote that I love, is from Billy Graham: mountaintop experiences are for sights and inspiration, but the fruit grows in the valleys. Mm-hmm. And if you think about like the valley seasons of life, like Kelly Clarkson, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It really is a time that like you develop so much. Like pictures get developed in a dark room, right?
Right.
But we don't want to go in the dark room. We don't want to be in the valley. It's uncomfortable. It's hard, but that's where we get molded and shaped. That's where we grow. And so like whenever now I see somebody going through a valley season, I'm like, you know what? I know it sucks, but there's a blessing in it. There really is. And obviously like I would never wish on somebody to go through pain. And there are things that are just tragic, I don't think that that's ever warranted. And I don't think that stuff ever comes our way. But I think that God is so good that he can use negative circumstances for our benefit. You know what I'm saying? And so it can be a time that can be used and turned around for something good and something positive. Yeah. So I just think for anyone right now that's going through a challenge or something where you feel like the rug's been ripped out from under you, I'm like, hey, you know what? It's this, you're in the middle of a story and God's writing your story. And if it's not good yet, it's not done. And you're in the middle of an incredible story.
Yeah, I like that. I love the quote, you win or you learn, right? As your husband's a rugby player, and man, like that's a tough sport, right? Like, and you get beat up, and when you win, you're like, oh, that was awesome, right? Like, and when you lose, like, now I'm beat up and I lost. Like, man, like I want to learn the lesson of what just happened because I don't like the way this feels. I can be beat up and I won and I don't feel nearly as bad, right? But if I get beat up and I lose, man, like I want to learn that lesson. It's like we learn so much sometimes for our losses, but I'll go back to this quote, Mellisa, like, I'm doubt, did you go to James 1:2 right in the middle of this? Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters,
Right.
whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance.
Yeah. And
Like,
perseverance,
walk me through
character.
that. Walk me through how you persevered through that.
Yeah, I feel like it really was. This sounds weird, but I feel like the way that you persevere is you lean into the pain.
Yeah.
It's like you almost have to say, like, you kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go like the whole like childbirth analogy. Like if you tense up, it makes it worse. But when you
Yeah.
almost like surrender to the season and you're like, this is where I am, I'm in a valley, it sucks, it's hard, like, but I want to learn the lesson. And you open yourself up and you lean into the hard and you allow yourself to be in that space and you take a good hard look at all the stuff that you don't want to. You allow yourself to be uncomfortable. You allow yourself to be vulnerable and you lean into it rather than being like, look at so-and-so and I wish I was here and I wish I was there. It's like, well, you're not. You're here. What are you what is God trying to teach you here? What can you learn from this? What are you experiencing and how are you growing here and now? And let's like lean into that so that you can move forward.
Love it. And I'm reminded of like Tom Brady talks about being in the pocket and he's like, man, I throw the ball and I'm like Gumby. I don't want to like tense up and go, oh, I'm going to get hit and react because when I tense up, like this is when the injuries happen, when I'm
Yeah.
loose as a goose. And I'm reminded of like, the people that have survived really horrible car accidents and they were asleep, right? They're like, oh, hey, shoo, they get tossed around like a pinball and like, whoa, nothing happened. But the person who's sitting in there gripping the wheel, tenses up everything, broken femurs, hips are dislocated, like the whole thing goes pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
So we have this thing that, we have this built-in natural, defense mechanism, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's built to save us, right? Like, and it's natural. So let's talk a little bit. I'm going to be remiss here as coming back to your TikTok coach.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss if we didn't give, hey, if I am on social media right now and video rules the day, and I might be this example of video killed the radio star, by the way, like maybe I was better on radio than being video. So if you're going to be on this right now, give us 3 to 5 tips that we need to know right now about boom, how, if you're going to make a good video and be intentional about it, what do the folks need to know?
Yes. So the most important thing is if you want to grow on social media right now, the number one thing is you got to turn up to add value to people. If you're there to be like, ooh, follow me, and you're not willing to like understand your audience and add value to them, just no. You need to think in every video, how is this going to help somebody? How is this going to add value? That's the most important thing. The second most important thing is how you deliver that content. So like right now on this podcast, we're like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, best thing, that number one thing people don't know about Mellisa, that's not going to fly. You've got to learn how to say more or less.
Good. I'm glad we're going to get no views on this video. Thank you.
Yeah, we got to chop it up. But it's a fast-paced platform. So you got to learn how to say more, less, and more succinctly. And you need to give a hook at the beginning of your video. And so it's something that would like entice your viewer to watch. So like where a lot of people say the punchline at the end, you would say the punchline at the beginning. So you'd say like 3 mistakes I made when I was going through the valley, right? And then you say 1, 2, and 3. And you give the value, you add value to your audience. So you got to have the value, you got to add the hook. And then you also really need to let go of the professionalism. So when I was first, like I had that video pop, and then I was trying to grow on TikTok and I was doing terrible. And my husband, who is awesome, like he is the straightest shooter. Like I'm all like, yeah, everyone's great. And he's like, no, they're not. Like, he's like, no, he will say the truth. And he has been instrumental in like my life and in my growth. And he's very wise. And so anyway, I call him one day and I'm like, hey, like, yeah, I'm just bummed. Like my videos aren't doing well. And I don't know why. He's like, well, I'll tell you why. He's like, your content sucks. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you need to turn up. He's like, you've got such a great personality and you're talking to the camera. Like, you're not letting anybody see your personality. He's like, you got to talk to the camera like it's your best friend. And he was really giving me he was encouraging me. He was giving me a backhanded compliment. But I was like, oh yeah, you're right. And so I realized like you need to engage with people like you're sitting on the couch chatting to your best friend, right? And
that doesn't come in a studio with the right lighting and makeup. And hey, do I have eyeliner? Because mine pop right now. Like it's on your sofa, right? Like come on, grab your favorite beverage and let's sit down and let's have it out, right?
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, good tips for me. That's authenticity, right? Like this isn't, and this is what people value. Because I tell you what, we haven't, the talking heads on, the big media. No one trusts them anymore. Like nobody. Right? Like, oh, I'm going to get decked out and then I'm going to give you the news at my perspective. And I'm only going to give you 40% of the information and what I want you to know, but not everything. And you're like,
yeah,
I'm stopped listening to you at like, hello.
Right. Yeah. So
yeah, it's brutal. Okay. So that's good. All right. So let's finish here with, a lot of people are going through it right now. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions and they got to be quick.
Okay.
The first question is, you coach a lot of people. And you've worked with a lot of friends and, people in the market that have done very well. And as you meet people through this world, what do you see in people that most people don't see in themselves?
That's a really good question.
I only ask bad ones usually, so this is good.
I would say, honestly, probably just the reality that they can do it. And my business coach says this, and I think it's so brilliant. She says, if you believe you can, you can.
Yeah.
And I just think for most people, they just don't believe that they can. And they've never, and that's honestly even something for myself, like believing that you can.
Yeah.
So that would probably be one thing that I've noticed is just believing that it's the belief that you can.
Yeah. I think there's some convincing there sometimes that takes, but I love Henry Ford's quote, right? Whether you believe you can, or you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right.
Right. Exactly.
And you're like, oh, well, I don't think I can do it. You're right. I think I can do it. You're right. Right. It goes either way, right? So, all right, that's good. All right. The next one is a lot of people are going through it, man. We're coming out of a pandemic. It feels like everything's kind of not going great, and whether that's good or bad, I don't know, maybe. I don't know how it's going, but there are people that are going through it right now. And what would you tell them, the things that really helped you and what you wish you would have known then that you know now?
It's very simple for me, Trent. It is an issue of trust. I think if you've never come to a place of trust, which really is faith in God, my biggest heart message to any person would be that he's trustworthy and you can put your faith and your trust in him. And that it's a moment of surrender and it can be scary, but he has proven, never in a million years, Trent, what I've thought when I was in the valley, if somebody were to say, hey, in 3 years, Mellisa, you're going to be on the Kelly Clarkson show and have this following and be booked on podcasts and speak.
Yeah.
But it really is. I think, it's a different mountaintops are for different people. But I think if I could say encourage somebody, it would be put your trust in God and he will lead you and direct you on your path and your journey.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful thing. And I think that's part of why they call it the living word. I know I've read a lot of things biblically and glossed over them in different parts of my life and then gone back and reread them again and went, oh, that means something very different today as a husband of 25 years, which is now almost 27 Saturday, and 5 children, like that lens of 52-year-old Trent, like Trent 52.0, right? Trent 18.0. was a very different lens when I'm reading those words going, but how's that affect me? I don't ever want to be a dad. Or I wasn't you. I wanted to be a dad. I was. All right. So let's go to the last.
Okay.
Which is, what haven't we covered today that you want people to know? People want to win. And that's not easy. No one said that road was going to be simple or, unicorns and rainbows. Right. So what would you tell someone who has that really needs to know something on this journey to victory in this life? What do they need to know as they go that we really haven't talked about yet?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to just tell you, it's one of my favorite. This was instrumental in helping me, and I touched on it a little bit, but I got it from this book that I wrote from Erwin McManus. It's called The Artisan's Soul. And he says, in life, there are two people that he finds the most boring. And the first group of people are people that have never gone through anything. They live like these plastic Teflon lives, and they've just never gone through anything. They're boring.
Yeah.
The second group of people are people that have gone through something really horrific or really tragic, but they've stayed in their pain. Those people are boring. But the people that live their best life are people that maybe have had, like the rosy beginning, and then something tragic happens, but then they find a way to come through it. And that is like an amazing story. Those people live the most profound, most interesting lives. And so like what I would say is, I believe that God writes our story. And if it's not good yet, it's not done. So if you are in the middle of the pain and the hardship and the tragedy, you will come through it. And just know that you're in the middle of an amazing story that you are going to tell one day, that is going to inspire hope, that's going to encourage people on their journey. So just stick it out.
I love it. If you're breathing,
it's not done.
It's not done. So I love that. And there are so many good stories of people that started it. For everyone. Thank you, Mellisa. I'm wrapping here. Great show. Another, great episode of Winners Find a Way. Just thrilled that my good friend Mellisa Hughes could join us. Thank you so much. Again, Mellisa, where can I find you?
On TikTok, Mellisa Lee Hughes. On Instagram, Mellisa at Mellisa Lee Hughes for my email.
Awesome. For those out there, thank you for joining the Winners Find a Way show. Like us, share us, tell all your friends, everybody about us, and we hope that you can always join. We are here to educate, give good information, ask for nothing more than a share. So we will always bring you good stuff like the 1%ers of Mellisa. Watch for our Pyramid of Leadershipity coming out soon. Look for athletic influencer marketing and the AIM NIL space and our NIL DIY that's coming out, NILD, which we're all excited about. You can check that out soon too. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time on the Winners Find a Way show every Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern and 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Mellisa Hughes, thanks so much. Good to see you.
Rebellious Infusions are organic flavored water enhancers. Rebellious provides clean, focused energy in liquid packets. Just tear the corner of the packet and pour 16 ounces of water. Rebellious Infusions have no sugar, no calories, and up to 300 milligrams of antioxidants and loads of L-theanine for brain health. Rethink your drink at drinkrebellious.com. For 10% off of your next purchase, use the code 99999. Thank you for listening to the Winners Find a Way show and podcast. Trent, together with the leaders who shared their learning and experiences through this show, are grateful for allowing them to help and support you on your journey to becoming your best. Write a review, rate us 5 stars, and share this episode to your network.